Hi, my name is Esme,
And this is Lemar.
and this is
Vent Away. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. We are back with our Dear Future Me episode.
This one's a little bit of a light topic because, we kind of wanted to go light after such a very heavy episode.
Right. So we just kind of wanted to tone it down a bit, and we wanted to talk about a little bit more about ourselves.
For these next 2 episodes, it'll just be very personal, and it's just going to try to connect with our audience.
Yeah, just, to show that we are human like everyone else. We have our emotions, our thoughts, and just everything, overall. So we just wanted to share a little bit about ourselves with you guys.
Okay, so of course the topic for this episode is Dear Future Me. So, Esme, what was young Esme thinking back then?
Young Esme was thinking a lot different than present me is thinking. I feel like as a kid, there wasn't so much to worry about. The longest, I remember I was like, oh my God, when I'm an adult, what am I going to be like when I'm an adult? I feel like a lot of younger me was questioning what my life would be like now.
For me, when I was a kid, I was already told about what my goals were when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
People already had their minds preset for me, especially in the Philippines but I agree with you. Things were so much simpler back then.
Yeah, I remember now that you bring that up, thinking my parents would always tell me you have to do good in school so you can get somewhere in life, I feel like a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on school. First of all, looking back at it, I feel like a lot of parents put a lot of emphasis on how their kids are doing in elementary school or middle school, and it doesn't really start mattering until high school, kind of.
And then college, it's it'll hit you hard. This is real life.
Yeah, because once you get to college, it's so different from high school, because now it's they give you all the options. You have to make the choice yourself. For example, you're in high school, most of the time your classes are picked for you, and you get to choose I want to take art today. You have to go to all your classes. You have a bell schedule, the bell rings, your teachers are reminding you to do your assignments. And then you get to college, and now you're an adult. Now you have, you're old enough to know responsibility. So, it's not like you're going to have a bell to remind you when to go to class. You get to choose your own schedule. You get to choose your own classes. You do how fast you want to do it. It was such a different environment.
So, what did you want to become as a kid?
One of my first career options was I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't think I've told many people that I at some point I wanted to be a lawyer. I got older and I wanted to be a criminologist. Now that I am an adult, I'm studying psychology.
People always told me to become a doctor. That can't be the case. I already told them probably at 10 years old. I was like, I can't be a doctor.
Right.
Because I have a horrid fear of blood.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be a doctor and be afraid of blood.
Exactly. For example, 3 months ago, I was in the Philippines, and I don't know what happened to my foot, but I think it was bleeding, right?
Right.
And I just saw a glimpse of it, right? They were trying to, they're trying to treat it with medication and stuff like that. I was so dizzy. I couldn't, and I felt like passing out. No lie. I felt like passing out. When they did treat it, I wanted to go to the bathroom. I did, but I was walking so slowly, and I was walking like you had a limp or something, I couldn't walk straight, so going to the bathroom, I saw myself in the mirror. My face was so pale.
I'm sure
my
it was.
lips were white. I've never seen my lips that white before. But then again, I couldn't see myself straight because my eyes were they were blurry. And the only way I could look at myself clearly was if I looked myself really closely in the mirror. But I was far away, but I saw my lips. They were white. And then my younger sister called from America, because I went to the Philippines by myself. She was like, "Are you okay? What's happening?" I couldn't even talk to her straight because I was like, "Caitlin, don't talk to me."
Poor kid. She's all worried and you're just like, "No, don't talk to me."
I ended the call. I just ended the
Uh-huh.
call. Like, she knows. Everybody knew that I was not in the right state because I wasn't tired. It looked like I was tired, but I wasn't because I was closing my eyes.
I mean, yeah,
And
that and being a
yeah.
doctor is just not all that compatible.
And every single time I go to doctor, you know how you go there every 6 months to just do your physical check or
Right.
whatever? Every single time they can't get a normal. They use like the heartbeat
Uh-huh.
monitor. Like they
Does
never
it
do.
affect like your
They ne-
blood pressure too? Do you always like go in with a high blood pressure?
yes, it's always high.
Right.
It's never related to the things that I eat, not related to my weight or anything
It's
like
just
that.
like you being
It's
scared.
yes, I always tell them my heart beats significantly fast because I am scared of needles and I'm always scared of that they're going to give me a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I did outgrow it because of the COVID vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to take the first dose, then the second dose, and then the third.
Me, you know what? That's funny that you bring that up because me, like growing up, I had such a huge fear of needles. I still do. No, no, no. I'm not even gonna lie because I still do. I hate them. I hate anything that has to do with needles, like medical wise. Like when the
Mm-hmm.
COVID vaccine came out, I was like, oh, I know I have to do it, but I'm really not
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to it. I wasn't even scared of the side effects. I was scared of the needle itself.
First one, I was so
Hmm.
scared. Will me having high blood pressure prevent me from getting a shot? Because if it does, I'm not going.
I know you're like, if it does, I can make my blood pressure higher. Like, let me just real quick.
Not just that, we also took the flu shot, but by that time, I kind of outgrew needles
Hmm.
already. I mean, there's like a little fear, but I kid you not, I saw my dad getting a needle.
Hmm.
Oh my god, he was weeping like a little girl.
No, I feel you because like my dad hates going to the doctors, and when he does, he doesn't like anyone going with him because he's like, I don't need you guys to see how I'm gonna get at the doctor. Every year I go with my mom, right? We go to get our flu shots. Every year we go and she takes it like a champ, you know. She rolls her sleeve up. She's like, "Okay, I'm nervous." I'm like, "You don't look nervous." And she takes it and she's like, "Boom, done." And then I take it and I have a thing where like especially at the doctors when I start getting nervous about stuff like shots, I start talking a lot. So I'll just start talking about something very random. Like there was one time I remember I was like 12 and I this forever like traumatized me. They were like, "Okay, you're due for 4 different shots." Or no, I'm sorry. You're due for 3 shots and we can give you the flu vaccine while you're here. I think they had said we're going to have to do 2 and 2 like on each arm. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna die. And they were like, or we could do all 4 on one arm. And I look at my mom and I go, can I do 2 today and come back for the other 2 another day? And she was like, nah, just do all 4. I was like, woman, no. It's like, no, please, no. And I was like 12 at the time, so I was like, being a 12-year-old, I was like, I'm too old to cry about this, but it's gonna hurt. So I remember I just started chatting with the nurse. I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." I don't even remember what I was talking to her about. I just remember,
But like, that's your coping mechanism, you
yeah,
know?
because I was talking her ear off. I was just like talking about. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's hot, huh?" It was during summer. I was like, it's really hot. Because you know why I went for that? I went because it was, you know how you had to have certain shots to get into middle school? That's what I had
Oh
gone
yeah.
for. I had gone
Mm-hmm.
to get my physical for middle school and get the shots I was due. I just didn't know it was for. She was like, okay. She was like, and then I remember the last one. She was like, this one is gonna hurt. And I'm so sorry. I was already like wanting to burst into tears. I was like, no, don't do it.
When they apologize
She
for
apologized. No, she was like, I'm serious. She was like, I'm sorry, but it's really gonna hurt. And
you know what we should call this episode?
what?
Our fear of doctors instead of dear future me. We
No, 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 no. Because the thing is, a big part of my childhood was my fear of doctors, which I think is so funny now because it's that I'm going into the medical field. No, because I have to go to med school because I'm going into psychiatry, right? And to go into
mm-hmm.
psychiatry, you have to go to med school. So
Oh, good
I'm
luck
gonna be an
with you
actual
then.
doctor, right? Which I think is really funny because
Mm-hmm.
I used to have such a fear of doctors.
I mean, if you're still listening to this, I really appreciate you listening to our fear of needles and doctors.
It's such a
Because
big part of my childhood. Like it was such a big thing for me being little, and those needles. I mean, I feel like it made sense to talk about it during the Dear Future Me episode. Like, this kind of goes like into our next point that we had, where it was like where we were gonna talk about our interests and hobbies. Cause I don't know if you know, but my sister is a medical assistant, studying to be a nurse. And so
mm-hmm,
when my sister went to college, I was like 4, right? She had these medical books in the house. And I remember I used to love
uh-huh,
looking at the pictures. My interest was in looking in her medical books and just looking in the books overall,
mm-hmm,
just the pictures. It was the pictures that cause I couldn't
yeah.
read what was on it cuz it was like really big medical terms. And I was barely learning how to read. So I didn't know a lot of what it said. But I remember like looking at the pictures and being like, what is that? Like, that's so weird. I discovered a lot of things I shouldn't have.
Don't tell me you read a 1,000-page book.
I didn't read it. No, because I didn't read it. I couldn't read it. I did not have the capability to read it. I would take the book to my chair and to my table. I would sit there and I would read the book. Or not read it, but like look at the pictures.
So in terms of hobbies and interests, everything my dad would send me was all school stuff. All anything imaginable, leapfrogs, VTech laptops, all of those things. Basically anything that you can learn.
Uh-huh.
So even games that I had before involved school. Every single game that I had was very school related. So they emphasized, even on my DS, a lot of the games that I had were involved numbers,
Oh my
letters.
god, I had a DS. No, I didn't have a DS. I had a 3DS.
Oh, that's when like the popularity for the DS started to go downhill a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
I got
Like it wasn't as monumental as
the
the
DS. Yeah.
DSi or the original DS or the DS
I
Lite.
had the DS, the 3DS. Personally, I didn't even see the difference. But I had gotten the 3DS for my birthday one year. I loved it. I loved my DS. It was pink. It was like a shimmery, like pink, and it was glittery. And I remember one of my favorite games being the Nintendogs.
I played Nintendogs.
It was like my favorite. By that point, I was a little bit older. As a matter of fact, it's so funny to me because on that DS, I don't have it anymore, but on that DS, I had a picture. I don't know, I might still have the DS, it might be somewhere. I have pictures on that memory card of the school I go to now.
Oh,
Because I took it to
what a
I took it on a
coincidence.
field trip one time. I took pictures of the school, and then it was so funny because years later I come back to it, and I looked at the pictures and I was like, "Oh, it's like I knew."
I still have all of the DSs that I've had in the past. Another hobby that I had was just collecting, since someone that I text every day, I feel like already
Mm-hmm.
that I have a collecting addiction. It's just not games.
Right.
Vinyl records, amiibo cards, Apple devices. It's still structured how I am today.
Right.
And I still have all of my DS and the games that they have. So I still have Nintendogs. I still visit them probably once or twice a year. Feed them once or twice a year.
No.
Blow a bubble and then, blow a balloon and scare the heck out of
I
them.
remember
Still do
that.
that.
I remember that was so evil. I remember blowing up the
Wait,
balloon.
do you do evil things to them too?
I used to. I can't say I do anymore, but I remember the balloon particularly. I don't remember a lot of the other stuff, but because it's been like 10 years since I played with that DS. But I remember one of the things that it triggered a flashback in my head right now of the balloons popping and the dogs getting scared.
It did kind of trigger my dream dog, which is a corgi.
Now that you're, the age you are, do you feel like you've reached your goals and dreams that you chose for yourself when you were a child? Like, what are you now? What did you become, and is that what you thought you would be at this age?
For me, like I said, I was a huge fan of technology as a kid already.
Yeah.
And I was exposed to a lot of that as a kid. And when I came to America, it only became a very strong interest for me. So I told myself as a kid, I was like, okay, I think I want to be in the technology field or something remotely related to that. Now I'm a computer engineering major at a tech school. In a way, I did reach my goal. It's not fully done yet because I haven't graduated
Mm-hmm.
and
For me, I like you said, when you're young, you don't really think about 10 years from now. You kind of think of just, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, what games am I going to play tomorrow? What toy am I going to play with tomorrow? But I
yeah,
feel like
like
the one thing I did know was, like, I had heard a lot of people, like, oh, go to college. Just go to college. And I feel like just the fact that, now I'm 20 years old, whole adult, and I am in my second year of college at a pretty good school, doing my psychology major, being, one step closer to my dream career. I feel like the big thing for me was figuring out what I wanted to be, and kind of,
mm-hmm.
that identity
Yeah.
of who I wanted to be, because I wanted to be that, not because, oh, everyone else wants me to be
Someone else
this,
wanted to.
but
Mm-hmm.
being what I want to be, because I didn't. I remember, like, my sister used to watch this show, and I remember one of the guys, he was so miserable with his job, and I was like, oh, I don't want to end up like that. Like, why would I go to
Yeah.
school to end up with a job I don't like?
Yeah.
So, like, now that I'm studying what I'm studying, it's genuinely something, that interests me and that I am incredibly fascinated by. So I feel like I did young me some justice.
And, part of growing up is the change of interests or just, simply growing up. What changed between younger you and present you?
I feel like a big thing for me was influence, if that makes sense. Like what I mean when I say influence is just like, I feel like when you're young, you can be very easily influenced by what other people are saying to you. Kind of how you were saying, like, oh, your parents want you to be a doctor. So a lot of people become
Yeah.
doctors because their parents wanted them to be a doctor, not because that's what they wanted. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like as I got older, I came to realize, why would I focus so much on what other people are telling me to want to be? And
Yeah.
why not, take that journey to discover what I want to be? Like, for
Mm-hmm.
a long time, I remember there was a point where I was like, I want to be a lawyer. And the reason I wanted to
Yeah.
be a lawyer was because I was like, I'm really good at debating. But I feel like that one was very influenced by things other people were telling me. Like, other people were the ones telling me, you have a really good, like, voice to speak out. You have a really good, like, train of thought, this and that. But then,
Yeah.
like, when it came down to it, I was like, that job doesn't really just seem for me.
Even at this age, like, unfortunately, they don't know what to do or what field they want to go
Mm-hmm.
to. I know a lot of people have a hard time figuring out because they genuinely do not know what to do,
Right.
They don't know what they want to be in. Luckily, we knew what we were doing, for example, personal evolution and, growing up. And I guess, we were just very fortunate to find out what we wanted to do, even before college. So,
I have a couple people I know who are barely graduating high school, or they're in, like, their first year of college, and they'll be like, they feel almost ashamed that they don't know yet what they want to be. And I always tell
mm-hmm.
them, I'm like, look, you still have some time. Take that
Yeah.
time to yourself. Like, what do you want to be in? What captures your interest? Because at the end of the day, I feel like it's more important for you to get a job you feel happy with.
If we're talking about career, you really want to spend 10 hours a day doing something you don't even want to do.
Right. Like, that's just overall kind of how, like, we were talking in our last episode, about mental health. Being in a job you don't
Mm-hmm.
want is it's bad for your mental health. It's
Yeah.
not, it's so draining because you go to this job you don't want.
We talked about the past, we talked about the present, what we are today. What do you see yourself in the future? Not just career wise, but, in terms of
Mhm.
family, within other aspects of our life.
That's a tough one, I feel, because if there's one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that you can hope and you can want something for your future, but a lot of the times it's not going to end up that way. I would love to eventually, have my career completed. I want to go into psychiatry, and um, one of my considerations is to go into forensic psychiatry, which is like that blend of the criminology world and the psychiatric world, which to me has always been incredibly fascinating. So I would love to one day be able to get to that. I would love to have a family, you know, just my own kids, my you know, my partner. One of the big things for me has always been like, if I'm gonna have kids, it's because I can provide and I can take care of them.
I've always thought of what my life would be ahead ever since then, you know? Like, I even know what the names of my children will be in case I do. I do want to have a family in the future, but a part of me wants to focus on the career first.
Yeah.
When I do finish, you know, school and everything like that, I do want a point in my life where I just want to enjoy my hard work. You
Right.
know, not think about other things, don't not have any priorities just yet. But I do want to have a family at some point.
Yeah, that makes
Just
sense.
so, dear future me, what do you want to tell yourself? Esme, you go first.
I think one of the biggest things I want to tell my future self is to be proud of herself for the effort she's put into her hard work, you know, into her career, into wherever she is in that point, you know. Because at the end of the day, you know, at any given point, one could give up and one could, you know, I could have decided to drop out already, but
Yeah.
I didn't, and you know, I can only imagine the things future me is going to accomplish, and just to always, you know, stand tall and be proud of what she did, and to never let, you know, someone else take credit for what she did.
I don't know. I would just tell myself to continue to just work hard. At some point, I want a job to provide for my family here in America and in the Philippines. So I would tell myself, use your family as your motivation and always use them as a reason to try your hardest in life. You know, they give you strength and they give you the encouragement to always be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. All right, everyone. That's the conclusion for our Dear Future Me episode. Our next episode is Get to Know Me, where us, your hosts, will kind of talk a little bit more about ourselves. You kind of got a deeper version today, but you'll get a more lighter version next time. And we hope you'll stick around for that episode.
We wanted to have another episode where it was, you know, it's a lot lighter than some of the heavy and intense episodes that we'll have, and just getting to know us a little bit more, you know, the people behind the microphones.
So stay tuned and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.